Ever since we were cavemen sitting around a fire, we've been telling stories because they define who we are as a group, and they're part of the glue that holds us together. Stories are powerful because they create empathy, they educate, they inspire. They help people connect over a shared you too moment. Because of these reasons, stories are also a critical component to making grassroots movements successful. What if I told you that there is an emerging technology that is such a powerful storytelling tool that it will supercharge your grassroots efforts? We are on the cusp of an amazing leap in human experience. We now have the ability to create new adventures in experiential storytelling that we can use to meet and connect with like-minded people from all over the globe without a physical barrier. It's called virtual reality, and it will change the way we share stories. A little background on me first. In 1989, I wrote an essay for my grad school application when I was clearly 2 years old about the future uses for virtual reality. It wasn't a very well-known concept back then, but somehow I did know about it, and it resonated really deeply because ever since I can remember, I've wanted to design new worlds that were completely different to what we have, where I could go exploring with other people. In other words, I've been waiting a really long time for virtual reality, and it's finally here, and it's finally starting to catch up with my dreams. So what is virtual reality? This is kind of what we all think of it when we think of it, isn't it? It's a little silly looking from the outside. But when you put that visor on, you are completely transported to somewhere else. It is quintessentially different from anything else we have other than reality. You are so visually immersed in the experience that you really think you're somewhere else. There is sound, that helps. And somebody's recently invented Smellorama with cartridges, so there's that. But your brain absolutely forgets the real world, and you really are somewhere completely different. It is absolutely magical. So there are actually two kinds of virtual reality. I think one kind is created by artists with computers, and I think that when people do think of virtual reality, when they think of what it might look like, this is what they think of. It's very futuristic and very sci-fi. But it can also be 360-degree video. And you can instantly and realistically be transported to another place on the planet. So you'll think you're standing in Angkor Wat while you're really just standing in your living room, probably in your underwear, looking silly with your VR helmet on. Two very different approaches to VR, but both incredibly useful for storytelling. And this is important because storytelling is a crucial element of grassroots movements. Remember, create empathy, educate, inspire, and connect, the 4 critical components of storytelling. It just so happens that these are also the very things that VR is amazing for. It gives us the ability to actually co-experience something, to see what other people see, to walk a mile in their shoes, so to speak. We can immerse ourselves in their story, understanding and appreciating their situation in a truly new and unique way. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then experiencing something must be worth 10,000 times more. So I'm going to give you 4 examples through the lens of empathy, educate, inspire, and connect, of how VR is already being used to fuel social activism. The first is UN's first VR documentary called Clouds Over Sidra, which builds empathy for Syrian refugees by having a 12-year-old Syrian girl guide you through her daily life in a refugee camp. The director, Chris Milk, wanted viewers to understand someone else's situation with greater clarity. And he even gave a TED talk about it if you want to look it up. Greenpeace uses VR to educate about issues and convince people and governments to work together towards protecting threatened habitats. You can join them on their ship as they travel to the Arctic and see how it's changing. They bring you along to literally be face to face with these magnificent animals that are struggling with the impact of climate change. And in the process, learn about the issues that, although really, really far away, impact on all of us. And finally, Tom's Giving Trip VR inspires you by bringing you along as they fit kids in Peru with shoes that they brought. You can see the excitement of the kids with their new shoes. They're directly see how your purchase funds relief. You can't see it from this photo because it's a still, but you are surrounded by kids playing and interacted on the playground in their new shoes, and it is really fun, very happy. And I have to admit, I ran to the Tom's website to buy shoes after it because it's just amazing that you can help support this. Finally, you can connect with the brave Yazidi women of the Sun Ladies VR. Kidnapped by ISIS in 2014 and treated as sex slaves, they escaped to start a female-only fighting unit they call the Sun Ladies, intent on rescuing their sisters who were still held in captivity. A truly powerful and incredibly emotional experience, made all the better by being able to actually stand next to and with these inspiring ladies. So what does all this mean for you and the future of your grassroots efforts? I have some ideas based on where I and some other people think VR is headed. I do have to caveat this by saying that although VR is light years ahead of where it was when my 1989 self, please, was dreaming about it, VR is still finding its feet. But it's improving very rapidly, and soon it will improve to the point where it's easier to use and cheaper to make. At that point, it won't be technology anymore. It'll just be something we slip into easily using without the current barriers. So create empathy by holding virtual meetups at a place that's being impacted by the cause that you're championing. Hold a meetup by floating on the tip of an iceberg that's melting, or in the middle of a forest that's being threatened with deforestation. Help people visualize what they will lose or might gain by participating. Make a game out of it, as the My Africa VR experience did, allowing visitors to nurse an elephant back to health. Give people virtual pets to raise and take care of. Virtual Tamagotchis, right? Why not? Except instead of Tamagotchis, they can be species at risk for going extinct. Let people experience what it's like to care for a pet when it might be a challenge to find the food they need. And in the process, experience some of the challenges that real species face and create the desire to do more in the real world. Education doesn't have to be heavy-handed or dry. Learning happens when we build or make things or experience them firsthand. People will learn what you're trying to teach if you design an experience that is soft on message, but high on interaction. Inspire people by showing them what's possible. So, for example, give people a virtual seed to plant that they can watch grow over time. Partner it with actionable activities in the real world, like planting a seed for a real tree for each one that's virtual. Those virtual trees will grow into a virtual forest that people can visit and feel ownership of, to mirror the one in the real world that they helped build. Social VR is just starting to become possible. We'll be able to virtually meet, connect, and interact as avatars with many people at the same time. Your goal is to create a virtual community that can inspire and ignite a movement. So as you would do in the real world, create spaces where people can explore and hang out. That virtual forest can be a place where people relax and hang out. Ideas grow when people get together. So plant the seeds of ideas and watch them grow. You don't have to worry about talking to others since language won't be a barrier anymore. Artificial intelligence will be able to instantly translate what you're saying to each other. That could already is being done. It's a modern-day Babelfish. Exchange ideas with anyone, anywhere, immediately. I think that's amazing, personally. In doing so, build communities of people from all over the world who share your values with no geographical barriers. So putting this into practice, what does this actually mean for you? Here are some ideas for how VR can be used to build grassroots movements. At set point, 360-degree experiences will be broadcast in real time. This means that you can connect with people from all over the globe as events are happening, attending events in faraway places in real time, and connecting with people from all over the planet. You'll be able to arrange to join protest marches wherever they're happening, or sponsor your own. Put people in the front line of global actions, unified in their focus and energized by their experience. Create experiences that many can take part in. Do you remember that virtual forest we planted? Hold concerts there, as DJ Marshmello did in Fortnite, where 10 million people attended his concert virtually. And while it may look kind of funny, 10 billion getting together at the same time is no joke. It would be pretty much impossible to do in real life, let alone the logistics of trying to organize it or pay for it. Nobody had to travel. Many, many people connected over this experience. And if you Google it, you'll see just how many are still talking about it. How about creating opportunities to build things together? Create experiences that invite people to work together, to solve real challenges. Build virtual houses together so that people can walk through and test out and see what works in practice. And then you can use the best parts as plans for building in the real world. Use this as an approach to discover solutions together. Let's take another look. I'm going to zoom in on fast fashion, as it's a pet subject of mine. Let's say you're trying to raise awareness about the environmental aspects of fast fashion and want to use VR as part of your strategy to do so. Create empathy by taking participants on a virtual journey through the entire clothing supply chain, highlighting the pitfalls and challenges it creates. Bring them along to visit the factories in Vietnam and experience what it's like to work there. Highlight how difficult the lives of the people in the industry are, and give participants the opportunity to co-experience it with them. Educate your audience through interaction with people along the way, hearing the people in the VR experience talking, and giving them the opportunity to interact with them once artificial intelligence can drive interaction with virtual beings, which is also happening already. Ask questions, talk to them, hear their responses, educate people not only about the environmental impact, but also the human. Inspire participants with the power to play God. Create a sim experience where participants are awarded points along the way for decisions made. Decisions that can influence both the cost and the outcome. So if I bring manufacturing closer to reduce the carbon footprint, what is the impact? Questions like that. Let people immerse themselves in the complex challenge that solutions can be, and in doing so, become more engaged with the problem. Hold virtual conferences about the hidden cost of fast fashion while standing next to a huge mound of clothing in the world's cast-off capital in India. Create empathy that brings an experience clearly into focus, and one that encourages people to talk to each other, to connect over a shared experience, and ultimately be energized to do something about it. So to conclude, I'm clearly in love with VR's ability to tell a story through a shared experience, and how that experience can inspire people to act. As people with a story to tell, this is the megaphone you're looking for. And even though not every one of these examples I've used is possible today, they will be in the next few years. That gives you time to think about the story you want to tell and how you want people to experience it, so they will want to join your effort. This is a super powerful tool. Build your virtual fireplace that has everyone wanting to sit around it with you. Don't just tell your story. Invite people to share it. What do I want you to take away from this talk? I want you to be excited, and I want you to be inspired about what's coming, because the world needs passionate builders for good, and your toolkit just got so much better. Thank you.